Okay, what's up, everybody? It's your girl Sequoia Blue. We back in here with another episode on this beautiful Thursday. And today's guest is Tash Doherty, and she's a writer, author, and an advocate. Okay, and I'm telling you, her story seemed interesting. I didn't get a chance to read your books yet, but I definitely will get into it because I read. I'm a reader, and I read a lot of books. My favorite authors like Walter Mosley, I can't remember everybody right now. Eric Jerome
Mhm.
Dickey, rest in peace. And Judy Bloom, she did a book called Forever, which made me think about you when I was like looking up your stuff. I was like, oh, that's interesting. The teen love vibe.
Totally.
What made you want to get into writing at 14 at that?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Sequoia. I'm super grateful to be here. Yeah, it's been a while ago now, but actually, when I was in high school, my English teacher told me that this other girl who was a couple years older than me had like written and published a novel in a single summer. You know, when kids are on summer break, this girl had like gone and written in her first novel and then gotten it published, and I was like, oh, how difficult could that be? So I actually like sat down and started writing, and my family and friends can tell you that I spent the next 7 summers actually writing that exact same book. So yeah, it took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, but I'm super grateful and glad on how everything came out in the end. I ended up publishing it when I was like 28, so it took me like 14 years on and off,
Oh
so much
well.
longer than just the 1 year that it started out. But I think, when you're like excited about a creative project, you need some of that naivety sometimes, because like I don't know if I had known that it was going to take me 14 years if I would have gotten that stuck into writing my novel. So yeah, that was it really.
Oh, that's so interesting. I mean, at 14, like, what gave you the confidence to even say, "Let me write this"? Because I know at 14, I'm like, "Oh, I'm so nervous. I don't know. I want to hide." And you was
Yeah,
just like,
well,
I'm
even
writing
with
this
my
book."
original drafts and stuff, it was like I was still learning how to type when I was 14. Like you're
Mhm.
not like fully literate, you haven't gone to college or anything. So it was like I was learning how to
Yeah.
type as well as how to write at the same time. So yeah, I wouldn't say any of my stuff when I was 14 was any good. But over time, I think the thing that it did teach me was discipline, right? And like you definitely need discipline if you're gonna write a book.
Mhm.
And just enjoying it and like getting into it and stuff too. So I think it's also difficult because I had so many every single year I would be like, this is the year I'm going to publish it. This is the year. And sometimes you just
Mhm.
have to like embrace that creative process. It's going to take a lot longer than you think, and not beat yourself up if it takes you 5 years versus like, the 2 years or whatever that you planned. So, yeah, I think you have to it really taught me a lot about how to be like kind to myself during the whole process and just focus on like improving the book over time and like, and writing
Mhm.
something better every single day when you sit down. So it's a very different
Mm.
idea or mindset as like freaking yourself out and being like, I need to finish this book on this day. It's a thing that evolves. It's a living,
Yeah.
breathing organism. Yeah.
Oh man, I love how you said that. Yes, it evolves. I mean, I think,
Mhm.
I wrote my first book, I was like 19 years old, and I'm just kind of, I don't know, I wasn't a good writer either, and I had at that time I had went to college for 1 year, and then I didn't
Mhm.
finish that first school, and I didn't know about editing. There's a difference between writing and just writing it out, and editing and making sure the
Right.
sentences go together and they're structured properly, and I didn't know about all that. So those are that's something I've learned. And
Totally.
now I do get an editor, even though, because to me, even if you went to school for it or whatever, it's
Yeah.
just some people are more, it's just, they got the jinsei, or they got that vibe where they could just put things together better in a way. So I was like, man, after that, things, it just got better. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, when you decided to publish your book at 28, like,
Mhm.
did you get an editor, or did you just say, you know what, I'm a gangster, I got this?
Yeah, I think I spent a lot of money on my book, like I had a couple
Yeah.
different rounds of developmental editors, so they were people who were helping me with the storyline and just, my writing style in general. I had a really great copy editor called Patricia. Unfortunately, she ended up
Mm.
going back to working at Penguin Random House, so she was my like super
Oh.
legit like line by line edits at the end there, and that really really helped me to like really think of it as like a real book. And she was amazing. I really wanted to work with her again for my second book, which I'm writing right now. um but yeah, then I had like
Mm.
the developmental editors, as I was mentioning. I also had lots of rounds of beta readers. So this was people in my target
Mm.
audience who I thought would like the book,
Mm.
and then I paid them to read it
Mm.
and critique it, and then that's how the book really got a lot better. So I recommend like a couple rounds of beta
Mm.
reading at least, for any kind of like novel project, because the feedback and the
Mm.
insights that they'll give you will make the story so much stronger. And yeah, we were talking about
Mhm.
AI art like a little bit earlier, and I did actually end up using AI art for the cover because I do feel bad about this. I recently watched this TikTok where this girl was like, if you use AI for your book or AI art to make your book cover, then like
Yeah.
either you clearly
Mm.
just wrote your book using AI or your writing is trash. And it like just irked me so
Oh,
much when
no.
she said that. Yeah, she was like so it was like such a mean
I
kind of like
I don't get the
controversial.
hate with AI. It's
Yeah,
gonna
there's a
come
lot of
full
hate.
speed like a train, and it's not
Mhm,
gonna go anywhere. People been stealing stuff way before AI came, and I'm not saying it's right
yeah,
and it's right now, but
mhm,
it's still going to be different anyway, because
right,
even if it took pieces from Mozart, it's still yours. It's still going to be your creation, because I could go look at Mozart right now and copy. You could copy, and like, especially my
mhm,
mother, she knows how to copy a painting. She can
mhm,
literally copy it, and so she could copy the painting and change it on hand. She can
mhm,
do it, and a lot of people have been doing it before time. It just
yeah,
doesn't look like the original because you warped it up, and
right.
that's AI art. So
Mhm.
I don't get the hate. I think people are jealous because they don't know how to prompt. They don't know
Right,
how to
well,
do
that
it.
I mean, prompting, and then also, like, she said she was like, "Okay, well, if you used AI to, like, make your book, then your writing is trash." And I was just like, "I've spent 14 years writing this book, like, I'm pretty sure I've had multiple people read it, like, I really tried to write the best book that I could," and, like, I don't know, even just her saying that, I was like, "That's" I really, like it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, "Oh, no," and then I sat there and had
Yeah.
a big existential thought for a second, but overall, it was like it was fine. I was just like, "Whatever, gonna move on from that. Haters gonna hate," you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Because
then
and that's
keep
that's
writing.
the work of an artist.
Right.
We're gonna get critiqued.
Exactly. And I think ultimately, like, you have to be in the arena with people who you respect, you know? And if somebody that I really respected
Mhm.
was like, hey, this is not good, or you should improve this, or like, this is ethical, or
Mhm.
whatever, you know, I would listen to those people. But this girl was like a gamer, and like, I don't know if she actually writes or she just reads books,
Oh,
but
see.
yeah. So, but it was working. She got a lot of attention about talking about it on TikTok. So, yeah.
See, and that's the thing. Bad attention could be good attention too. And I think that's the that
Mhm.
people forget that. It's like, yeah, you're trying to bring me down, but you're getting people to want to know what's so bad about me. So then they're coming to see. So
Yeah.
that actually is sometimes a blessing in disguise, because hey, at least you noticeable. So that's
Yeah,
a good thing.
exactly. Yeah,
So
it's,
you
yeah. Go ahead.
oh yeah, I was gonna say, so you seem to have a popular newsletter called Miseducated, huh?
Yes, I do, and I've recently started, writing a smaller section on that. It's called the Sex
Ooh,
Report, and so what I'm doing with that is I'm
ooh.
taking primary research studies published by different psychologists and scientists, and then applying them to my daily life. So, in terms of sex
Mm.
specifically and body positivity, those kinds of things. So
Mhm.
it's fun for me because I'm a pretty, like, curious person, and I'm quite a data
Mm.
nerd as well. That's what I've done in my job. So I'm
Mhm.
basically, yeah, trying to make the science like more accessible and funny, and then relating it to personal experiences. Because, for example, in my piece, which is called "How to Achieve Orgasm Equality," that's my most
Mm.
popular article that I've ever written. It's about how to give females more
Oh,
orgasms, and
that's
basically, I
important.
quote a bunch of people in that study, and they're like, "Oh, 65% of the time, a female will like have an orgasm in a sexual encounter with a man," and I'm like, "65%
Mhm.
of the time, like." That sounds
Mhm.
incredibly high. I would say, like, that's way higher than what me and
That's a
most of
lie.
my friends are going through, right? So it's
Yeah.
one thing to have these scientific studies to try and understand sexuality or the human experience more, but then to really relate it to my personal experience and be like, actually, anecdotally, this is true or this isn't true, and just being open about that. So that's what I'm kind of exploring and having fun with right now on my blog. And the goal of Miseducated is to
Mm.
help the world be shamelessly sexy. So one day at a
All
time, one
right.
article at a time. Yeah.
I like that. I always say, look, my little term now, shameless victory, because
Mm,
I think sometimes people are just always trying to hide and not talk about things because they're scared to talk about it. But these
right.
things is normal. We need to
Mm.
talk about it because sometimes somebody could get depressed and didn't know where to go to. And they're always on Reddit. I just got into Reddit maybe a year ago.
Oh,
Now I'm
right.
reading threads and stuff. And that's interesting to me because they're all over the world. They're in UK
Mhm.
where you are, all over the place. And it's very interesting to see these stories, but they want to be anonymous. You don't know who it is. And I think it's cool that you're like on Substack. You're like, hey, I'm Tosh, what's up? And you're like telling these stories
Yeah.
because it just needs to be told, and maybe
Yeah.
teach women how to talk to their partners, and it could give them tips and stuff because everybody might not can afford a sex consultant or whatever, and then
Yeah.
you're teaching them these tips. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's
totally.
amazing.
It's really fun. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, and like I actually am a huge fan of Reddit as well, but I think I would love we should
Yeah.
definitely like dive about that. But yeah, the goal with specifically I wrote an article recently called How to Be Shamelessly Sexy, and there's three different components of it. Is one, you have to just explore and discover what it is that you like, whether it's like in the bedroom or like
Mm,
romantically, whatever. Then the second part is really believing, as a female that you deserve what you want, right? Like
mm,
you are entitled to
mm,
this thing, which is like your desires, your fantasies, etc. And then the third thing is asking for what you want. So asking and communicating
mm,
with your partner, like, hey, I want to try this thing. And if they're not willing to,
mhm.
meet you where you are or meet your needs, then you might need to find another partner who might be more willing to do that. So that's real.
Yeah.
And anyway, so those are the three
Yeah,
major
that
areas.
is.
Yeah, then there's a lot that we can like unpack within each of those. But those are some of my favorite parts of it. And one of the tools that I have in the exploring and self-discovery part at the beginning is sex journaling. So it's about
Mhm.
using a journal, that you might have in your house, your own special book, whatever that
Mm,
you don't have to show anyone else. You could show your partner if you want to, but
yeah.
writing about all the different romantic experiences that you've had, and like saying that it's not, I mean, especially for women, sexuality is not just like, the size of the D or whatever. It's like there's so many different aspects that
Mhm,
go into it,
mm.
right? Like, did you have dinner
It
before? How are you feeling? Were you
mhm,
wearing something satin that you liked? What was the environment like? Had you been building up to this
mhm,
specific moment with a lot of anticipation? So that's what I kind of like
mhm.
to help people explore. And I think sex journaling is
I
a
like
really
that.
interesting way to do that. And I like to say that my sex journal
Mm.
is my blog
Very nice.
itself. Like I put my name on everything because I think it's important to have like a real human face behind all of these things.
Oh,
But then that's
yeah.
when I developed the sex journaling tools, so people can do it in the
Mm.
privacy of their own homes and they don't have to like publish about it, on the internet. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that, because there's the journal industry is getting so popular with just talking about your feelings, but we didn't add in the sex journal. I mean, I think that's
right.
amazing, and it should be
Yes,
different. Like, what is it that you're seeking? What are you looking for? What are you into? And I like I said, I don't shame anyone. That's the one
yeah,
that's like, do your thing, just protect yourself, because I think that life is short and you have to figure out what's best for you. And I do
totally.
think there's some people that might turn asexual, or I mean, I don't think they turn asexual. I think sometimes people get so stressed out, especially during this time, or women more so than men, where they
Yeah,
just close up. They can't even, it take a dang on champion to pull
yeah,
something out of,
yeah,
and like you
yeah,
said, it's the process to get to the moment. If that woman particularly likes the roses, like a nice dinner, and then wants her feet rubbed, and then
yeah.
sensual kisses or whatever it is, like those are things that's what I think people need to talk about in the first date, really. The reason why I say that is
Exactly.
because if you talk about it in the first or second date, you can just
Mm,
cut it. You don't Your emotions don't get attached. If you
right.
realize that you're not sexually compatible, you can just
Mm,
get out, you
totally. And
know.
then you know what you want, so you can be like, "Hey, are you interested in doing XYZ?" Like whatever it might
Mhm.
be. And if this guy is like, "Oh no, I'd never do that," then you're like, "Okay, cool. Guess I'll find somebody
Then you're
else."
like,
Like we have a lot of
deuces.
options these
Yeah.
days, So it's like I think that's the benefit of it as well. And I don't know, it's like maybe finding other people who also have these kinks and interests. And but yeah, that's really what I tried. I like what you said, like the shameless victory aspect of it as well, because also just celebrating like when you do have a positive dating experience and saying like, what did you
Mhm.
like about this person? Like, was it the way that they treated you, or like the text that they sent you in the morning, or whatever it was? I think there's a whole, it's such a beautiful and like complex thing when it comes to female sexuality. So that's why I find it this like of, never ending, interesting and curious topic for me to explore. And yeah, the goal with Miseducated now is, yeah, turning from the science to the sex. So it's bringing in like these primary research studies that I just read and I find on the internet.
Mhm.
And one that I'm
Mhm.
working on right now actually is by this. I found it on this woman, Dr. Sarah Hill's website. She's a
Mhm.
psychology professor at the University of Texas Christian University, and basically they studied
Mhm.
like whether people, if you're going on a date and if this partner like tries new and exotic foods, if that changes your perception of them. And basically they found that
Mm.
people are more likely to consider that your potential mate as like adventurous, like sexually open, and less
Mhm.
basically you're less likely to feel like sexual disgust if you're the kind of person who's into this, because if this guy orders like something really random and weird off the menu, then maybe he would be like open to doing random and weird stuff with you, at the same time.
Ooh.
So anyway,
Hmm.
that's what I'm exploring right now, and I'm about to publish that newsletter tomorrow. So yeah, summarizing the research.
Okay, I'm gonna have to subscribe. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, exactly. Have you had some
that's
experiences like
real.
that?
No, I mean, I know that was it the aphrodisiac with the what is it? What is it
Like
called?
oysters and stuff?
Those yeah, the oysters. Yeah, they say that, it's like it gets you hot and going and stuff. And then it's also you kind of out of the box because you like to eat raw oysters and stuff like that. But it does
Mm,
make sense because everything like matters how someone is, how they eat, the what they talk about, what they read about, all that connects. It says a lot about them. And
totally.
if and so it and like you have you very emotionally intelligent. So that's the thing too, that and some women are still trying to figure it out and trying to, and that's the thing. So somebody might not be able to tell, like you're reading about this, and I like that, but some people ain't reading. And then they go
Yeah.
out here in these streets and they just like, oh, he cute, he got money, or whatever. And then you end
Mm,
up in you would have bad, with the right one. And
yeah,
so I think that's interesting because that's what made me create my card game, was because of that. When I realized there's certain things that need to be asked, and
totally.
then based off how they answer, if they screaming and moving all over the place,
Getting
well
all
then,
over.
what's going on? And so
Yeah,
that's why I did it. And so I'm kind of similar to you in that aspect when it comes to
yeah,
relationships, because it's almost like a psychological thing, and it works. I mean, did you would think that people would try to lie and stuff, but you can, if you are like you'll pick up on the cues. But if you are someone that pays attention, you'd be like, oh, he's trying to lie, he
yeah,
nervous about that question. And
yeah,
no one's trying to
exactly.
judge you. We just want to
Mhm,
know why you ain't answer it. What's wrong
right.
with you? Because if one of the
Yeah.
questions is, are you bisexual? Why
Mhm.
can't you answer if you're bisexual? And I actually had one guy say on a date that he was curious about how would it be with sleeping with other men. He said he was actually curious. He
Yeah,
never did it, but he said he was curious, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, he told the truth. Like, and that was
yeah,
just my test before the game even launched. It was just me with a
right.
piece of paper, and I realized it works. Because then
Yeah.
I me personally, I couldn't date a bisexual guy, but someone
Mhm,
else that don't mind it, at least they
right.
know, and at least
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can move accordingly. And so those are the things. And then, some of the questions, have you ever had threesome? Stuff like that,
Mhm.
just gauging you. And so it just reminded me of my game when
Yeah,
you're seeing all this stuff. And even though it could be uncomfortable, I think sometimes the uncomfortable has to be said, because
totally.
then, and it's like, because you have to know if that person's on your intelligence level. And not saying they can't get intelligent, but it takes emotional intelligence to know how to satisfy someone, especially you saying in your article that, hey, what when the woman tells the man what she wants and stuff, come on now, it takes a certain type of man to understand what she's saying and to
Yeah,
really do the work. And I
totally.
think that's one of the things, because
Yeah.
there's so many blogs, there's so many podcasts out now just downing women and men, and nobody want to date no more. I'm alone. No, you just need to talk and sit down and stop being scary and tell the truth.
Yeah. And also
And
I
then you
think
can find your person.
yeah, and that's what I love about your game as well, is that like if it's this offline activity that you can do together, it just requires like so much
Yeah.
vulnerability. And like I also go to bars and stuff
Mhm.
and I'm like I'll sit there with my headphones in
Mhm.
at the bar and be like not as approachable, Like we're all on our phones all the time. We're all in our devices and stuff. And like so going back
Mhm.
to the analog of like sitting down and saying hello to a
Yes.
person, that is scary. Like it is, But
Yes. I
sometimes
mean,
you have to put yourself out in those uncomfortable positions. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I've been going to bed like earlier, so I can wake up and like play
mhm.
pickleball or go for a run or whatever with my friends.
Oh,
And
pickleball.
I think sometimes you have to just like stay out, like you have to stay out for the night
Mhm.
because that's when things happen. People stay out, people have a couple of
Mhm.
drinks, like you get in the groove. And I think even, as much as I try to be shamelessly sexy in my own life, I really think that a lot of the times I'm leading with my head instead of my heart, and I think like a lot of the times we
Mhm.
need to get back into our emotional, our feelings and our bodies. And and just having fun and not thinking about like all the emails that I have to answer and all of the, the work things
Yeah,
that
oh
I
my
have to do. It
goodness.
can be hard to, you feel disconnected from that, I think sometimes. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
another aspect of it.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, because I mean, just getting off, yes. Because I mean, I think that I do think about work a lot, and then I'm just like off track, and I can't see that chair, or I can't see that, it's like, and that's why I podcast because it helps me ground myself.
Mhm, mhm.
Like some people are like, oh, people do it for the money or whatever, or try to get the money, but it helps me ground myself because I'm touching something, and I feel like I'm talking, and it's not so much about hustle, survive, do this and that. And I
Yeah.
think that just messes up, like I said, the sexual side, when especially for women that want to,
Mhm.
it's I think it messes it up.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're very complex characters, and I think that's what's so fun about it,
Mhm.
and it's a landscape that can ever be changing, and I think just focusing on that journaling aspect, taking an experience that you had, whether it was your first time or, your best
Mm.
time, your worst time, your most fun, summer loving time, like there is just so much, beautiful, rich details and parts of these experiences. And I've at least seen the benefits in my own life because now I can like, hook up with somebody and I can be like, hey, I like this, and this. And, I
Mhm.
hope that you're down for that too. And a lot of the times they're like also open to that as well. But I
Oh,
think you have
yes.
to also know what like pleases you both physically, emotionally, and all of that, because otherwise you can't expect your
Mhm.
partner to also give you what you need. So it's a lot of
Mhm.
yeah. And I try to just be very honest about like I constantly, not constantly talking about how much like I like butt stuff, but I'll mention it in my articles because I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, if the guy wants to make me orgasm, just like a little bit of butt stuff, and I'm like good, but like that's something that I mean not many people feel comfortable saying aloud. um
Yeah,
but I think it's
yeah.
important because it's like that's the way that I've discovered, with my previous partners that helps me to have pleasure. And I'm very happy to
Yeah.
be the person who puts their name in the face in the blog and just say like, hey, these are my like full human experiences, and like I just encourage people to like explore, as much as they can and like enjoy this beautiful life that we all have and finding a partner that you like, and it's a beautiful journey.
Yeah, I mean, life is short, and I was listening to Michelle Obama's podcast the other day, and she
Oh,
mentioned
cool.
that she told her daughters that she told them that some women will end up alone, like, and it's a possibility that that she told them that they could end up alone. And
Mhm.
I found that to be interesting. I think it's some women, they're always like, get married, get the dog, get the fence, or whatever. I don't know. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's a possibility. What if it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
What if you end up alone?
Yeah.
Can women handle that?
Totally. I mean, my grandma is still alive. She's like 88 years old and she's like bedridden, but I still call her on FaceTime like a couple of times a week. And honestly, I'm really surprised that she had children. Like, I think if you look back, there's so many, as recently as 2, 3 generations ago, like a lot of these women just wanted to be free, right? They wanted to maybe get educated, have their own
Mhm.
lives, have their own careers, but for a lot of societal impediments, a lot of oppression, like they weren't able to do that. And so yeah, I'm obviously grateful that she did have children because otherwise I wouldn't be alive. But I could
Yeah.
just looking at her personality, I'm like, goodness, woman, why did you ever get married and have children? Like you would have been so much happier, if you'd just been able to be free and be alone. So yeah, and I think the real, at least for me personally, like it really comes down to whether or not I want to have children or not. Like I personally I'm
Mhm.
30 years old and I've spent most of my 20s out not in a relationship at all, and I've been perfectly happy with that. But suddenly it's like, oh,
Mhm.
well, if I do want to like reproduce, I might need to
Yep.
find a partner to do that, and that's really it at this
Yep.
point. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy being alone.
Yeah, or you can do like what this one lady did. She got her eggs frozen, and then she had
Mhm.
somebody else carry her baby, and she ended up being okay
Yeah.
and just being a single mom. But I think,
Mhm.
and some people don't like that, but
Right.
I think it's okay too. I mean, I think that, if you do have a son, the son, you can put your son in camps to find a father figure or whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
I think those are options too, because the way the economy's going, there's less people having, I mean, less ladies having kids now.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
it's changing. I mean, everything so much. And then like it takes a while to get to the bag, get it the way you wanted to get it. You ain't even get
Right.
to live yet. You want to travel, you want to do all this stuff, like, because there's so much I want to do. I said, I don't think I'm gonna have kids, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I just so much I want to do. I haven't done yet. Like I want to travel
Totally.
the world. I want to go to Brazil. I want to eat great food. I want to it's just too
Yeah.
much to do. I want to read books in other countries, and it's one of those things.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very tempting, and like it's just so expensive. I don't even know how people can afford it, honestly.
Mm-mm, me
But
neither.
also, it's just like I think I'm so grateful, like to have enough, right? I think that's also the most important thing is knowing what is enough for you.
Hmm.
Like again, you're like you want to be in Brazil reading a book on a beach, like that is it's
Hmm.
expensive to have that kind of lifestyle, but like maybe it's a few $1,000, and then you go do that, and
Hmm.
then that's your sense of enough, and then you can be super happy and fulfilled doing that. So I think that's the very
Yeah.
important thing because especially like being women, it's like we're still not at like pay parity or making as much money as men or other people, whatever.
Hmm.
But ultimately, if you just have enough money to say like, I don't need to go out with this guy, I can buy my own dinner, buy myself flowers, Miley Cyrus style,
Yeah.
buy my own
Yeah.
plane tickets
Because
to Brazil, you know, that's good.
I think that's true. Defining your success, because 500,000 a year for a single person, to me, you can live that lifestyle. Like, you don't have to be a millionaire. You can make $500,000 a year and be like, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's okay. And that's the
yeah,
thing that people don't get.
mm,
So I mean, but yeah. So you have another book that you're working on.
yes.
Let's talk about that. What's the title, and what's it about?
I actually don't have a title for it yet, but it's a summer love story. So the whole story is that this girl goes to a lake. She's kind of been rejected by all her universities, so she's gonna have to take a gap year, reapply to college. Like it's a big thing for her. While all her other fancy friends are like going to colleges that she wants to go to, and she goes to this lake where
Hmm.
she's terrible at cleaning the toilets and cleaning the cabins and everything. But then she meets a guy there called Blake, who's just a guest. He's like staying at the hotel that she's
Hmm.
working at this lake, and they have like a
Hmm.
beautiful summer whirlwind love story. And then the question really is like once they part ways, she moves to America, he lives in California, but like they live on different sides of the country. And the question that really comes up is love enough, so the second half of the book is they
Hmm.
meet up like 5 years later, and then you get to see whether or not their love story lasts. So it's
Ooh.
it's a lot of spice. It's a strong, I would say strong, spicy
Ooh.
summer romance. So it's like that beautiful, if you have any like summer
Mhm.
memories of just like at the lake or the beach or wherever, in the forests,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of that. It's a lot. Again, I like to go for like really nostalgic teen romance kind of stories, that are just
Oh,
like beautiful
yes.
and coming of age. So yeah,
I like
I'm
that.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
Sounds like it could be a Netflix show or movie. I mean,
I hope
I
so.
mean,
I
that's what
mean,
it sound like.
yeah, I tend to have more like feminist characters, which is quite fun. So like characters that really have some kind of
Mhm.
goal either like in the business world or in the studies or something like that. And then the male characters usually add something to their lives, that they wouldn't otherwise be able to see in the structure of like
Mm,
novels. It's called a buddy love story. So the buddy helps
mm.
the character to kind of evolve in their transformations. And yeah, it's a beautiful story. I'm excited to keep writing it. Right now it's like over 120,000 words
Mm.
long. So I'm going to need to cut it down
Ooh,
quite a
that's
bit
good.
and like, get it all together. But I'm really grateful. I'm in a really amazing writing community called the London Writers Salon. So I write really
Oh.
regularly with my community, which is super fun. Yeah. So I just,
Mm.
you need other writers around you in order to like keep yourself motivated and keep going. So yeah,
Man, you're right on that, because I'm definitely behind. I mean, I
yeah,
mean, I got my short stories coming out soon. Like, it's a collection of
amazing.
short stories. I wrote it when I was 22.
Wow.
So I'm finally putting it out now. This older age. So
Congratulations. That's incredible.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, okay, here I go. So that's gonna be soon.
Mm,
And it's just a bunch of different things. Different little stories, and you could have some romance in there too. And it's exciting. And I think you just inspired me to just keep writing and stuff. And you're right, just hanging around
totally.
other writers, and even if it's online and stuff like that, it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not behind. You're
So
exactly where you need to be right now in your process. And that's something that I always beat
yeah.
myself up about as well. I was like, I was supposed to have my draft done 2 months ago. Well, you set that as an arbitrary deadline. So you just need to stay
Yeah.
motivated, stay positive, stay kind to yourself, and keep going because you can do it for sure. So yeah.
So do you believe everything happens for a reason, or is it by choice? Like we made that choice so it happened, or what do you
I
think?
don't believe that everything happens for a reason, and I can go into a more dark and kind of a messed up story as to why I believe that. But basically, I just have a bunch of friends that have like really intense chronic illnesses, like good people who just
Mm,
suffer like because of their health issues or whatever for like their whole lives.
mhm.
And I think for sure you can learn something from a chronic illness, but sometimes there's a lot of just like completely needless suffering in the world. So that's why I do not believe actually that everything happens for a reason. But you can still, I think, learn a
Mm.
lot from all different kinds of things. And that is what the writing process is about. It's about learning about yourself over time and sticking with it and being patient with yourself, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I also do believe in some serendipity. Like I do believe
Totally.
that if you act, yeah, I like sometime I'll say, okay, I need an answer about this, that.
Mm,
And then a stranger could say it, give me the answer, and they don't know me. Like I could either be on a podcast or I could be watching a movie, I can listen to a
yeah.
song, I could be at
Mm,
work and someone says something that I needed an answer to, and I'd be like, what the heck? And it
yeah.
happens more often than not. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, hmm,
Yeah.
hmm. So
Exactly, and I
I think
think
that's
just being
interesting.
open to those things is really fun and interesting sometimes as well. One of my friends gave me like a little handmade booklet, and I like to use that to write questions when I go to bed. So it could be like, "What am I doing next?"
Ooh.
or like, whatever it is, and then I just put it on my nightstand, and then I go to bed, and then I hope that that is answered, some way through the universe. So
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. So, before we close out,
Mhm.
I haven't done this in a while. I haven't done the would you rather yet in a while. It's been a long
Okay,
time, but I have two would you rather questions,
let's do
and you just tell me which one you would rather do. So the first
them.
one is, would you rather have your most embarrassing teenage diary entry go viral,
Mhm.
or let your ex write the foreword to your next book?
Oh god. I mean, I will say, as somebody who says is devoting my life to helping others be shameless, I think the viral teenage diary it would actually work well in my favor because I mean I don't know what would be in there. Touch wood again, we're tempting the universe. But I create some pretty embarrassing stories and stuff already. But maybe I should do more of that and actually make that a shtick, with my TikTok content or something,
Mm.
is writing about my most embarrassing memories.
Oh, people
The
love that because 'cause
crossover.
they'll relate and won't feel alone, so I like that. Okay,
Exactly. So
here's the
yeah, there we
second
are.
one.
Now we answer the question.
Yes. Yes, no, oh, what would I do?
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah.
I would let my you know what? I'll let my ex forward the next book. Let him do it. I would let
Yeah.
him do it. I mean, because I just think that I wanna see what he says because he knows I didn't do
Uh,
anything wrong, so
uh,
I think it would be interesting to see what he says because I don't think I want I don't think I want people to know what I did. Young, I
yeah.
was so stupid. I mean, I wasn't stupid.
Oh,
I didn't
actually,
know nothing.
I can think of something really gross, yeah, and weird that I did in my teenage years that I probably wouldn't want published on the internet. But you know what? The fact that you would want your ex to write your forward, I think that's a green
Mhm.
flag, I think it's important that we speak well of our ex-partners, right? Like, probably decent person, somebody that you were
No, he
with, that you
wasn't, but
trusted. Yeah,
he
exactly.
wasn't he wasn't a good guy, as far as, I think he had it in him, but he
Mm.
wasn't right. He had some demons he has to work on, and
Oh,
that's something he knew, and
alright.
and that's something he has to do. But I think that if he did say something spicy about me, it won't be as bad as my team. It won't be as bad. Whatever he got to say about me, it won't be as bad. I'm like, I
Got
don't want
it.
nobody. Oh, it's
Incredible.
funny. Okay, here's the second one. Would you rather be stuck in a rom-com set in the London Underground, or
Okay.
a steamy drama set in a Mexican beach town, but you have to write your way out of it to escape?
Oh. You know what? Like, I don't really like the beach. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the in Mexico, the beaches are so humid and hot. I would, like, definitely write my way
Oof.
out of there
Yeah.
faster, I think, than being on the London Underground. But, Maybe Mexico, because I've been living in Mexico for 3 years
Mm.
now, and I've been wanting to write more about Mexico. So
Oh.
I think this could maybe be a good chance for me to start a new steamy whatever rom-com situation that I have to get out of on a beach. So I'll choose that
Mm.
one.
All right. Yeah, I think that I'll probably choose that too, honestly. Yeah, I
I
would
feel
choose
like
that because
I don't mind being
I've
in the
watched so
London
many
Underground,
movies, so
but like being on the subway, it's like the London Tube is a little bit stuffy sometimes.
yeah.
And also, if you're underground, I don't
Oh.
know how long I would realistically want to stay down there, you know?
Oof. Oof.
Um,
No.
so yeah, that's what I was thinking anyway. But I love these questions. They're so
Ooh.
funny. Yeah, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
them.
I was like, I just started back. I haven't done it in a minute. And I said, you know what? I got to start these back up, because it's like you learn so much about the perspectives, and it's exciting.
Totally. Thank you.
So, before we close out, what's a saying or quote that you go by?
Oh my God, that's a great question. Well, there's two. I have one on my laptop right here, which is by Rumi, which is it says that what you
Oh,
seek
really?
is seeking you. So that's a good one.
Mm.
And then another one by Annie Dillard, I think it is. Or I like read it on her blog or whatever. And it's
Mm.
like how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So I really try to make
Mm.
every day, something beautiful where I create something, I have fun, I see people that I love because yeah, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So
Ooh, I love it. I love that. That's true. How we do one thing is how we do everything too. Because
exactly.
it's amazing. I love that quote because
Yeah.
yeah, every day could be an event in a different way, your way.
Yeah, and again, it's not saying that you're gonna put off your creative goals, like as you're saying, like you're gonna publish your short stories, you're doing your podcast, like you have to
Mhm.
sit down and do those things now because like otherwise that tomorrow might never
Mhm.
come, right? So, you know, yeah, that's the point. How
It's
we
not
do it, what we do
promised,
in our days
especially
is how we spend our lives.
yes, especially with the long COVID and stuff. But anyway, that's another topic for another day.
Oh no.
I know you probably heard about long COVID, but I'm gonna have to have you come back on here about that one. Um,
Goodness. I'm
That's gonna
sorry.
be a whole nother topic because that could be that'll be a good one. Long COVID and how to still have a sexual life with long COVID and even have a life in general with long COVID. How can one do it? That'd probably be another good topic
Yeah,
next. Oh
that
man,
sounds like an
that's
amazing
especially with
episode.
a fellow researcher like me. Oh man, we'll kill that topic.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, Tasha, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. I had so much fun speaking with you. It's been just a breath of fresh air.
Oh,
And
thank you,
just
Sequoia.
shout out your socials. And I'm gonna put them in the show notes though, y'all. But you can shout them out too if you want.
Thank you. Yes, Sequoia. No, I honestly love chatting with you. Such a great conversation. And yeah, my socials are mostly miseducated underscore. So that's MISSEDUCATED underscore. Wherever you can find me on TikTok, on the Instagram, and I hope everyone has a blessed day. And it was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming on, and thanks everybody for rocking with me. Please subscribe and share. Don't forget to go to bluewalkerspodcast.com and go to the store and get some cool merch, and you can look sexy in it and rock our podcast. All right,
Yay.
thanks everybody. Be blessed.
Bye.